Welcome to Born Survivor Power, the Monday session for March. So what we're going to do, if you're doing this at home, is just start warming up right now, just start jogging on the spot while I recap the session. If you haven't already watched the overview video, please pause and go and do this, but I'll give you a quick recap while you're warming up. So again, warming up now, not just listening to me speak, jogging on the spot. You might take it into hip circles, arm circles, maybe a few press-ups, a few burpees, that kind of thing. For a quick recap, we're going to have 4 or 5 minute rounds with a minute in between each. For one of those rounds, it's just a single exercise, deadlifts. For the others, we're alternating between 2 exercises, 10 reps or kind of lengths of each. If you're doing it at home in a more confined space, it might be you just do that exercise for a certain amount of time because perhaps you haven't got the space to do kind of 10 lengths as such. Still warming up. For each of those, you want to make it so that volume is challenging. So if the dumbbells you've got at home are fairly light and 10 shoulder presses is easy, we'll go for a few more. We'll go for 12 or 15 reps. If you can change the weight so that 10 is challenging, then please do so. Stopping at a certain number when we could do twice as many genuinely won't do anything. It's not that the first half of the reps was half of the benefit and the second half is the other half. The first half doesn't really do much, it just warms you up in essence. It gets you to that point where you've got those last few challenging reps that do the good stuff. Still warming up, guys, still warming up. So again, either change the intensity so that about 10 is somewhat challenging, or do a little bit more, even if I'm moving on to the next thing at that point. So I'm going to recap round 1 now while you're still warming up, and hopefully something like burpees or star jumps or something to get you going a little bit more. Round 1 is going to be shoulder press with what are called box overs. Now for shoulder presses, you'll be fine doing them with whatever dumbbells you've got. You're going to go shoulder height to overhead for about 10 reps. For box overs, for people who do them in the club, they have actual boxes and they're going to get on top and get to the side. At home, just do whatever you can that involves you getting onto something and getting off. So at the very least, you could be stepping onto probably your second step of your staircase. You may have a bench that you can get on and get off. You may have a sofa you're happy to stand on, or some other type of stool or bench type thing. It's basically going to involve you getting up onto something and then getting off on the other side if that's possible, or just back down again. So hopefully you're warm by now. Feel free to pause this and give it a bit longer if you're not. When I start you, we're going to go into shoulder presses, like so, for about 10 reps, followed by about 10 box overs. But again, do more or less if needed, so that whatever you're doing is hard work. Right, we're going to start in 10 seconds. We're going to start now with that shoulder press. Get your dumbbells up to shoulder height, ready to go. 3, 2, 1, off we go. Press it like this. 10 reps. When you've done 10 of them, into 10 box overs, step overs, again, whatever version you can do of something. And so on. You just keep alternating between them, about 10 of each or whatever makes it challenging, while I'll regale you with a few stories of born survivors, past and well. Got one coming up soon. Keep going with them. Actually, while I think about it, if you're not already entered for Born Survivor, please take this as my official invitation for you to enter Born Survivor. Now, most people tell themselves that they can't do it, it's going to be too hard. And I'm not going to lie, it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not as hard in some ways as people perhaps think it's going to be. So it's 10k total distance with about 30 or so obstacles along the route, in the grounds of Cape Storm Hall. It's on May the 7th this year. Keep going with your shoulder presses and box overs. From a distance perspective, it's actually easier than doing a 10k run, because you're not doing it for speed. You're not trying to get around as fast as you can. You're not keeping up with people. You're going around with a group of a similar pace, and that 10k is broken up. So you do a 500 meter walk or jog if you want to, get to the next obstacle, have a little rest, and then do the obstacle, then repeat until you've got all the way around. So you very much take your time. Again, not going to say it's easy, but don't think I can't do a 10K, therefore I can't do it. If you could go walking for a couple of hours in total, then you'd be okay. Let's keep going with this. You're on 2 minutes now, approaching halfway. The obstacles, again, not easy, but out of the 30 odd, you'll probably be fine with 20 odd. Not no problem, you'll be okay with it. Some might be challenging, some you might decide not to do. You might bypass them, you might go round them because you think actually that might pull on my shoulder, or actually I don't like heights, or I don't want to get mud in my ears, or what have you. That's absolutely fine. You can go past any obstacles you don't want to do. Don't then perceive that as any sort of failure. You will have done on that day more than 99.9% of the population will have done. You've got your 10K, you'll have done 30 obstacles or whatever number you do. Alright guys, we're coming up to 2 minutes left. So still keep going. 10-ish shoulder presses, 10-ish box overs. Again, don't overcomplicate the box over, it's just getting over. If you're doing Born Survival, there'll be some stuff to get over. You'll figure out the best way for you to go over. You just want to have an amount of training in those muscles to make it not easy, but not too bad. Right, coming up to 90 seconds to go. 10 shoulder presses, 10 box overs, and so on. So yeah, Born Survivor, get yourself registered. Don't overcomplicate it, don't overthink it. Don't think I'm not fit enough. I'd say you're probably fit enough now, and if not, we've got a couple of months still to train up for it. Something to give you focus. So rather than just plodding through the next 2 months, it's something where when you're entered, you've got that little bit of skin in the game, you will then be way more likely to do these sessions, to do so in the additional training. 1 minute to go. There is a Born Survivor running prep plan at the top of the sessions tab on the app. It's super simple. It's just doing an amount of distance each week. Walk, jog, whatever you want. I put down minimum 1K for week 1, which is last week by the time you'll be seeing this, depending on which week you're in. 30 odd seconds to go. Followed by 2K, 3K, 4K, just increasing the distance. Or if you want to jump ahead, you can go straight into a further distance. But the intention is that each week you do further or faster than the previous week. So we're not going to do 6K on week 1 and then 1K in week 2. If you're going to jump straight to 3K, the following week has to be 3K faster or going further. Right guys, 10 more seconds in this first round, then you get a minute's rest. Keep going there right to the end. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you've got a minute's rest. Take a minute's rest. When we restart, second combination in club is pull-ups. Now you might have something at home you can pull up off. More likely you're going to do a dumbbell row. So you have your dumbbells, you bend through the knees and hips, you shrug the shoulders up and your elbows up and back. Now because the lats are such big muscles, you can row a lot heavier than you can some movements. So it might be, if you're limited by what weights you've got, you end up doing more than 10. That's fine. You might do a body weight row. You might have, for example, a bar or a sideboard or something that you can lean back underneath and pull yourself up to. You also might not. Anything really where you're pulling your arms towards you or you're pulling yourself up towards your hands is fine if you make it sufficiently intense. We're going to go into them in 3, 2, 1. Off we go. That's then supersetted with sprints. So if you have space, you're running up and down. It's 10 lengths of the corridor in the club. At home, maybe do it for a minute because you might just be back and forth over a small space. If you don't have enough room, do anything that's going to really get your cardio system going. So you might do star jumps, you might do high knees, you might do burpees. Just something that's going to get your heart rate going. If you have space, even if it involves running down the corridor out to the end of the garden or what have you, and back, that's fine. If you don't have space, again, anything that really gets your heart rate and your breathing going. So some sort of row type motion, 10-ish reps, again going over if needs be, because 10 is easy with what you've got, followed by 10 sprints or about a minute of something cardiovascular wise. Right, you've done 1 minute already. So hopefully now I've persuaded you to have a go at Born Survivor. Just pop to myrise.co.uk /Born Survivor, all one word. There's details on there of how to register, of the different waves that you could enter, and the wave captain's story for each wave. Each of the wave captains is a member or a coach who's done it before, who the first time they did it was nervous or apprehensive. It tells their story of how they felt about it, how they found it, and a few suggestions for you guys. Have a read of that. myrise.co.uk /Born Survivor, all one word. Go and have a look. Doesn't mean you have to enter, but just go and have a look. Go on. After looking at this, after finishing this session, pop and check that out. Still keep going. Rows. Or something like that, depending on what you've got access to, followed by a sprint. Or something really gets your heart going. 2 minutes. Got back here, 2.5 gone. Now, hopefully, some of you have been doing Born Survivor. I'll tell you about a few of our past Born Survivor experiences, as long as you keep going with rows and sprints. So the first Born Survivor that I did was September 2014. For the previous few years, I had a few people say, do you want to do a tough guy or tough mudder? And I was like, not really. Didn't really appeal to me in the description. People kept saying, don't you want to see if you can do it? And I was like, I'm reasonably sure I could do it, I just don't really want it. So eventually I entered Born Survivor September 2014 as an additional member on 2 people who were members here, their kind of work team. They invited me to come along, but I'll give it a go. 2 more minutes. Enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I'm not much of a runner, as in I don't particularly like running. It doesn't feel like a run, it feels like a fun obstacle course with just distance between them. Really enjoyed it, so we entered a team 2015, about 25 of us from here. Then 2016 was the first year I had a real big push of getting a big number out. We had 106 of us in 2016. Keep going with those rows and sprints. The following year I pushed even harder, I wanted an even bigger team, so we had 164 of us, mainly members, a few friends and family, come and take part in 2017, which, unless I'm mistaken, puts us in the all-time top 10 global OCR teams. I found a 450 and a 300 in certain OCRs and a few of the 200-ishers. But unless I'm mistaken, we, a small independent facility in Macclesfield, have had one of the 10 biggest teams ever at an event like that across the whole world. 50 seconds to go, which I think is phenomenal because we're a facility that attracts people that on average don't like that kind of stuff. There's a facility not far from here that very much markets to OCR fans and strength athletes and that kind of stuff. And they're invariably there with a team of 10 or 15, which is great. But for us to be a facility that, again, most people who come here don't really like the idea of that kind of stuff, for them to want to do it, train up, get themselves in a position where they can do it and then succeed in doing it in such big numbers, to me is mind-blowing. You've got 15 more seconds. Go on, last few reps. Rows, sprints or alternative. Nearly there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, take a minute's rest. Your third round is just one exercise. Now, it's mainly one exercise because when people are doing it in the club, they're going to be using barbells and going fairly heavy and therefore needing a bit of a rest. For you guys at home, to go as heavy as you can for this one, with whatever kettlebell, dumbbell, etc. you've got. It's going to be a deadlift. So you're going to be sitting back into it like that. Really sit back. So if it's a single weight like that, you have between your feet, it's not forward of you. You sit back and then push with your feet. You're not pulling with your back, although your back will do an amount of work. you're pushing with your legs. So it's this. Realistically, you're probably not going to have a weight where 5 or 7 reps is hard. It might get hard at about 10. You're probably going to have to do more than 10 reps. You might do 15, you might do 20. Right, going in 3, 2, 1. Off you go. Deadlift it. Ultimately, as many as you can. We never stop because we've hit a number. We stop because we don't feel we can do any more. Realistically, for this, you might drop the number through the 5 minutes. You might manage 17 on your first go, have a little breather, a little sit down, get a 14 out, have a little breather, get an 11 out, and so on until you've run out of time. Either way, just keep deadlifting. Really sit back into it. You should feel your weight through your heels, not through the balls of your feet. You're sat back, you're not leaning forward like that, you're back like that. Imagine you're trying to touch your bottom down to a stool that's just outside of your reach. So if I've got something like, imagine this, as I go down, if I go like that, absolutely miles off that bench. If I go like that, I'm just touching against it. See the difference there between that, what am I there, 18 inches away, versus that, I just touch it. Okay, so, we've done 2 minutes, nearly 2.5, keep going. So 2017 was our really big team. 2018, we didn't enter an official team. Main reason was I pushed 2017 hard, and I said, we're not going to do it next year, so if you're going to do it this year, to try and get people out of the woodwork a little bit with it. So obviously I had to follow through on that and not do 2018. As a secondary thing, I was also interested to do it myself for speed, to see how fast in essence I could do it rather than going around as part of a group. Mainly though really just because I pushed so hard and said we're having a year off next year. So I did that, and that was the Born Survivor that I found hard because I was going for time. I was running as fast as I could, going over those obstacles as fast as I could. That was hard. Don't get me wrong, none of them are easy, but that was me lying in a field, panting, the kids looking at me at the end, just checking I was still okay. 3 minutes gone. Then 2019, we came back with a team of about 50, I think it was. I didn't push it as hard as previous years. 2020, we were all set to have a big team. We'd got about 100 booked in, I think, at the point of lockdown, etc. hitting. 2020 didn't happen. 2021 didn't happen. So 2022 is the first Born Survivor for 3 years now. And the first time we've had a really big team for 5 years, with a year off and then just a smaller team the year after that. Okay, where are we now? We're coming up to the final minute already. I've got that right, haven't I? What have I missed a minute? I think I missed a minute there, sorry. You've got 2 minutes left. Ignore me. Ignore me. I thought that had gone too quick. I'm just running off a cumulative time there. I forgot that there was a minute in the rest earlier on. 2 more minutes. Keep doing as many deadlifts as you can. Really sit back into it. Rest and repeat. After this, we've just got one more combination. Arguably the hardest one. A bit harsh putting it for. If you do this down at the club, maybe do this one first, then your deadlifts last. I don't know if there's any great way of doing it, to be honest. Okay, 90 seconds now. If you are doing this at home at some point during the month, please feel free to let me know what's going on. Have we entered World War III yet, for example? Has COVID made a comeback and we're back in lockdown? I'm fairly confident that's not going to be the case, but who knows what the future will bring. Oh, it's been amazing happening. I don't know what. 1 more minute. Just feel free to comment underneath, just even how you got on, how you enjoyed the session. Final 60 seconds of deadlifts. We did also in September 2018 do Tough Tribe, which is a similar event up near Stockport, in one of the parks up there. Didn't enjoy it quite as much as Born Survivor. It was fine. The obstacles I didn't think were quite, for whatever reason, didn't quite appeal to us and me and the members quite as much. Had a big inflatable slide at the end, which was pretty cool, but Yeah. Born Survivor, for whatever reason, has become our thing. 15 seconds. If you'd have asked me 10 years ago what will become the thing for you guys, Born Survivor would probably be about the last thing I predicted. But for whatever reason, to capture the imagination of our average member, 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Amazing. Combination 4 coming up in 1 minute is crawls and over-unders. So for the crawls, you're going to go down on your hands and toes and crawl up and down whatever space you've got. Again, it might be relatively little, you might just go forward and back with a couple of steps because you're going to bang your head. But the key is you want to be low. So getting down low like this is better than bumming in the air like that, or somewhere in between. You're going to go up and down, keep it as low as you can. So in theory, if you're here, it'd be 10 lengths of the room. At home, maybe again, 45 seconds, a minute, something along those lines. Followed by over-unders. In the club, they're going to have multiple benches laid out, where people are going to step over it, and then go under an imaginary kind of bar. You can just do the same, even if you've got nothing to step over, just do it anyway. Right, 3, 2, 1. Crawling up and down. Even if you're literally a couple of steps forward and then back, that's fine. The key is to keep your hips low, flat, like a press up, rather than bum in the air. When you've done, let's say 45 seconds or so, or when you actually just can't hold on to, you can't hold that position anymore, if you've got nothing to step over, just do that a few times. Or you might even just do a step one direction and then back under if you haven't got enough space to keep going. Obviously, if you're going step one way and back under the other, swap periodically, so you're not just going under to the left and over to the right or vice versa, you're doing equal amount left, right for both. Again, in theory, it would be 10 of them, so 10 over under. So over under, and then 9 more times doing that. You should be fine doing that, whichever way you've got. Again, you might just do it for an amount of time and then go back to those crawls. This is your final round now. You are about 90 seconds into it, so 3.5 more minutes. And then we'll be done with Born Survivor Power. Crawls, then over, under. Try and get as high on the over, really get used to that big step over, because at Born Survivor, there are things to get over that involve a lot of lifting legs. The things that people often found in previous years were sore afterwards was hip flexors, these muscles here, because they weren't used to that much kind of getting over. Grip, sometimes the smaller women particularly, and maybe with a little bit of bruises where you want to try and really get over stuff rather than almost like, I don't know, crawling over it, try and get up and over, use someone for a boost and assist. If that helps you get that little bit more height. You get kind of getting almost semi-pulled over something or shoved over it. It's obviously going to be a little bit harder physically than if you get that bit of height and go all the way over. Right, that is 2.5 minutes, halfway through your final round. Keep going. Crawls, over, under, nearly done now. Let me know as well, just in general, what you're up to at the moment. So you're watching this at some point in March. What's happening in March? My stepdaughter's birthday, the day before her birthday, she's competing for the first time in the national championships for trampolining. Just to give semi-context to that, it's for the novice group, so there are people at the same competition who are a million times better than she is. She's just kind of one of the best novices now. It does mean having got to national at novice, next year she'll really have to go to intermediate. I don't think you can keep doing national at novice, but fantastically proud of her anyway. What else have we got going on in March? And just normal stuff other than that. I'm meeting up with my uni friends at least once, possibly twice, for the first time since pre-COVID. Where are we now? 90 seconds to go. Next social is bowling. Don't know why I did that, that's Laser Crest. Bowling, the last weekend of the month. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. Check the sessions tab. There's a section there at the top for socials. Or you can just go to myrise.co.uk/socials and it shows it under the miscellaneous tab on the app or the miscellaneous page as well. Okay, 1 minute, final minute, is that right? I'm fairly sure it is. Surprisingly difficult to keep track of. That's why the timed music works so well. You can quickly lose track of where you are at in this exercise. So again, crawls, over, under. Really keep that height on the leg. That last one of mine got a little bit low. You don't just want to lift the knee, but the foot would end up kicking whatever you're trying to get over. You want to lift that foot high, swing it over, keep stepping across. 20 more seconds and then we're done. And 3, 2, 1. We are done. Finished. Take a few seconds and we'll just stretch off. A lot of muscles got to work there, so we'll stretch off those muscles that were worked. Quads first, they go into the ankle, push your hip forward. Let me know how you're feeling at the end of that. Swap sides. And we're going to go down to hip flexor. So one knee up, one knee down. Hip flexors will work hard on those over-unders at the end. Raise the same arm as your lowered leg. So you can see my left knee is on the ground, my left hand is in the air. Hip forward, shoulder back to get a stretch in the front of that hip. Feel like you're throwing a javelin. Swap sides. Then we're going to sit back onto our ankles. Child's pose, ground the lower back, armpits down towards the floor. And then come through to cobra, hips come down, shoulders down away from the ears. Up into downward dog. Step through, stand up, we're going to stretch those shoulders, they've worked hard there. Supporting your weight in the crawls, etc. Shoulder presses as well. Some sides. And give yourself a clap. So awesome work guys, everything left to do if you haven't done it already is go and get registered for Born Survivor. Don't overthink it, don't wait so long you do something daft like talk yourself out of it. I promise you, you're probably alright as you are now, but it'll also give you focus for the next couple of months. Just go to myrise.co.uk/Born Survivor, all one word. Even if you're not sure, go and have a look at the videos, go and have a look at the captain's stories, get an understanding of kind of how they felt before they did it and how they found it, and hopefully then follow the instructions and get registered.